Welcome everyone to a new episode of What If Cars. In this series I'm going to release my sick fantasies and also take your requests. By using this car building game as a tool, I'm going to create fictional and alternative universe What If Cars. For a long time, Pontiac used to be a nicer Chevy, but by the late 50s, Pontiac gained a dull image, a grandpa car. To make the brand appeal to more younger buyers, Pontiac decided to throw itself at sportiness. Through the wide-track drive models and the legendary GTO muscle cars, Pontiac managed to deeply root itself as the performance division in Daddy's GM lineup. Pontiac managed to get through the dark 70s and 80s by selling somewhat sporty cars, but by the 90s things had died down a bit and Pontiac returned to normal by also offering more compact and family-friendly cars. This didn't do the company any favors. Daddy GM was struggling in the 2000s and already had to kiss brother Oldsmobile goodbye in 2004. And Pontiac, despite making some nice cars, was a lost name. What was Pontiac exactly? Enough reason for GM to pull the plug out of it as soon as the 2008 recession hit. Many people screamed, why not Buick? But Buick brought in some nice cash from China. Buick stayed, Pontiac didn't. And by 2010, Pontiac was gone. But before Pontiac went out of business, they had a somewhat interesting lineup with pretty beefy engines at the time. You had the Pontiac Solstice Roadster for some fun open-top cruising, the GTO with two massive V8s, and maybe the final chapter of it all, the G8. A straight-up muscle car with either a V6 or two V8s making as much as 450 horsepower. That's modern-day Corvette numbers. It's a shame, really, that Pontiac left us right at the wrong time. Just when Pontiac was cancelled, stablemate Chevrolet had released their first design sketches of the new and upcoming retro Camaro as an answer to the retro Ford Mustang, and we all know what happened. A second or third or fourth, I lost count, muscle car war had started that would dominate the 2010s all the way until the present day. The perfect conditions for a company like Pontiac to really thrive in. So, what if GM decided to kill off Buick and continue with Pontiac instead? What would Pontiac look like in the 2020s? Or should I say cars? Instead of one car, I took the challenge to make a semi-realistic lineup for Pontiac for the 2020s, partly based on GM's overall model strategy, meaning SUVs and pickups, and Pontiac's close relationship with Chevrolet and body sharing. Can I get a drum roll? Pontiac presents for the Roaring 20s 4 roaring cars. The Pontiac Murok, a sport truck that can haul a thing or two. The Pontiac Aztek, the all-terrain sports lifestyle vehicle. The Pontiac Firebird, the screaming chick in his back. And finally, the Pontiac GTO. GTO. You be the judge. All cars are powered by GM's 6.2-liter LT1 V8. The engines are rated at 450 horsepower and 625 Nm of torque, and all models feature Pontiac's new and highly advanced wide-track ride control and suspension. Go see your local Pontiac dealers today and experience firsthand what wide-track driving is all about. Let's start with the odd one out, the 2022 Pontiac Murok. The hell? Are coupe utilities back now? By the looks of it, yeah. Here's the deal. GM doesn't want Pontiac to enter the full-size pickup truck market. It just doesn't fit with the brand image. But a small car-based sport truck? That might work. And yes, this is a leftover from the Australian Holden days. That's right, you are looking at a reworked Holden Commodore body that back in the day was rebadged as a Pontiac G8. The same Commodore also had a Ute version, and GM decided to reuse the body all the way until the present day, now as a rebadged Pontiac Murok. The Murok name comes from a salt pan in California, a subtle reference to the Bonneville model name, but I added the letter R for, I don't know, coolness? The front end features Pontiac's legacy design, the split grille, and I have applied this design setup to other models as well. The lower bumper has a touch of Camaro in the grille pattern. Curved turn signals wrap around dual round headlights. a subtle nod to the Pontiacs of the 1960s. The rear end features a big Pontiac logo along with a massive Maroc lettering on the tailgate, which is often done on pickup models by various car makers. Pontiac now has a special truck up their sleeve. No one else in the American automotive industry offers a coupe utility. Will this spark a new resurgence in popularity for the coupe utility, or is it doomed to fail? Time will tell. Next up is the pony car of the bunch, the Pontiac Firebird. To save on costs and development, the Firebird shares many components with its stablemate, the Chevrolet Camaro. In fact, it's based on the same body and has the same underpinnings. You can even get an aftermarket kit for your Camaro to turn it into a Firebird, but I digress. The front end once again features a Camaro-inspired lower grille and bumper, but everything on top of that is uniquely Pontiac. The split grille is big, bold, and very much present. The shape of the headlights is borrowed from the Camaro, but the interior design is a reference to the old Firebirds with the dual headlights. A sharp and slim turn signal gives the car a sharp edge. No screaming chicken on the hood, but a subtle body mold points towards the Pontiac's logo. Only a subtle badge on the side is a small reminder of the screaming chicken. Door handles and mirrors are those of a Camaro, but the car is another reference to the good old days. Two vents are placed behind the doors and are a nod to the first generation Firebirds. The rear is the same story as the front. The lower bumper is that of a Camaro, but the taillights are unique. Two slim bars are a reference to the original Firebird taillights from various model years back in the late 60s. Carbon black wheels with red sporty stripes are optional. Next up is a reimagined 2020s version of a car that is often touted as the most hideous car ever made. The Pontiac Aztek is back! The reason behind this new generation Aztek is the same with the new GMC Hummer. GM has its funny pants on, and so if we can bring back the Hummer and make an electric monster out of it, why not do the same with the Aztek? This time the Aztek is less of a practical lifestyle vehicle and more of a full-blown muscle car SUV to the likes of the Cadillac Escalade V Series. A fastback SUV, highly impractical, but it's a type of car that many people like these days. Now, before we talk about the design, we unfortunately have to look at the original design. And I'm going ahead and just say it, the Aztek was ahead of its time. The overall shape, although funky, is a shape we see a lot more these days, and the front-end design is split in two parts, a upper part and lower part, which is also a common theme with SUVs these days. Slim running lights on top and the conventional headlights way down below. This is also the starting point of our design. Slim running lights are placed in a split grille design on both sides of the Pontiac logo. And then we have the bigger iconic split grille below that, much like the original Aztek. And below that, once again, the Chevrolet-inspired bumper. The design of the side windows mimic that of the original design of the Aztek and also features a subtle badge, since this is called the SLV, or Sports Lifestyle Vehicle. The rear end once again pays homage to the original Aztek design, and the most prominent is the split vertical back window. Taillights are modern but follow somewhat the shape of the original. Overall, it's a pretty heavy flat and tall rear end. The answer to the question, can you attach a tent to it, remains unsolved. At this point, you'll probably start to see similarities with that other American car maker, Dodge. And you'd be right. Currently, Dodge is the all-out performance division of Chrysler, FCA, Stellantis, and so is Pontiac for GM. Whereas the Firebird is a Camaro copy and takes it up against the Challenger, the GTO is the Dodge Charger of Pontiac, a four-door sedan and the range topper of the division. The GTO rides on the same platform like the Cadillac CT5, and it's Pontiac's entry into trying to beat BMW 5 Series and Audi A6s of this world. It does that with a Euro-inspired body, but a menacing American design full of references to the past. This time no Chevrolet lower grille and bumper, but a narrow strip with running lights. Above that, the signature split grille and angry-looking dual headlights, a reference to vintage GTOs, that are like wings sticking out of the grille. A subtle hood scoop sucks in the necessary air for the 6.2-liter V8, and a subtle but not so subtle badge on the side reminds you of that engine. The rear features a very curvaceous rear end that is far from flat. The exhausts are surrounded by a design that is similar to the lower grille in the front. A massive Pontiac logo and lettering tells you everyone you have a GTO, and it's slotted between 8 narrow horizontal taillights, 4 on each side, and you guessed it, are a solid reference to previous Pontiac GTO models. I'm kinda torn. These cars look good and one could say they look unique, but at the same time, Pontiac is almost in the exact same spot as they were back in the late 2000s. Its entire lineup relies on rebadged Chevrolet and Holden models with a different front grille glued onto it. But what do you think? Are these correct designs or way off? Do you like them or are they hideous? What would you have done? Let me know in the comments, and while you do, let me know what you'd like to see next.